I also remember, I don't know if you remember this, the screaming audition, because there were probably maybe 3 or 4 women left, and I just remember women walking in, screaming at the top of their lungs and walking out, and then the next woman walking in, and I swear this happened, because I remember yours and going like, it's going through my being, if this is not Jane. We were cast as Bill, John, and Jane, so.
Make some noise for the cast of the Blair Witch Project.
Hi. My parents are here, Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
Raise your hands, raise your hands. Jim and Joan Donahue, where it all began. My name is actually their intellectual property.
I feel like I'm going to fall back into this seat.
Blair Witch family reunion style. I love it. So I'm going to warm up the room with a couple of questions, but just so you know.
No, a couple of jokes, please.
A couple of jokes. All right. So priest and a rabbi.
A chicken and an egg.
Right? Chicken and an egg. No, I'm going to warm up the room with a couple of questions, but nothing's going to make them feel more loved than to see a lot of hands going up when we turn it over to the audience. So don't be shy when it comes to question time.
What is yellow and invisible?
What is yellow and invisible? You got me stumped.
No bananas.
Did you hear the one about the 3 holes in the ground? Well.
Chicken and an egg are laying in bed. The egg is smoking a cigarette and the chicken looked pissed. Egg turns to the chicken and says, well, I guess we answered that question.
Thank you guys, have a great day.
All right, yes. All right, so.
2-drink minimum.
This, Blair Witch was an instant horror classic to me. I have the best memories of seeing this in the theaters the summer of '99. So what were the horror classics that you loved when you were growing up?
Exorcist.
Xanadu.
Shining and Xanadu, wait a minute.
Roller skating, time travel, psychedelic rainbows. It's every 7-year-old girl's dream.
You know, that soundtrack is
And it does haunt me. It haunts me because I dream of achieving that level of aesthetic purity, and I never have.
But you will.
Thank you.
All right, well, getting to the Blair Witch, what are your earliest memories of the project coming together?
Mine is the casting announcement in Backstage Magazine, which basically said, improvisational feature film, shot in a wooded location. You'll be, discomfort and method filmmaking kind of a thing. And we went to this open call, Lafayette Street, Manhattan, place called Musical Theater Works, which ironically, many years later, some of the rooms that I auditioned for Blair Witch in are my daughter's classrooms right now at NYU, which is pretty cool.
Can I also just interject and say one time I went into that building and I got in the elevator and they were doing a Star Wars cosplay. So it was 3 Wookiees and then Lou Reed also practiced Tai Chi in the building. So it was 3 Wookiees and Lou Reed and me in the elevator. It was just one of the greatest moments of my life.
It's a beautiful New York.
It was really the best.
And it's a kind of a historical area, Astor Place, and I have great memories of it. In fact, recently this gentleman here is wearing some Tavish, right? He's wearing Online Ceramics merch, so I partnered with Online Ceramics, which is the very first time I've ever owned any kind of anything Blair Witch related. So thanks to Online, but thanks for Tavish for wearing that. But when they emailed me, it was like, oh, we're going to shoot this thing, and can we meet at Astor Place? So it was like, wow, that's really full circle, like right across the street from where we auditioned. So to make the longest story longer, we had an open call, and my earliest memories are of a hallway from here to the end of that hallway filled with young actors and actresses, and you go in and sit down, and Ed Sanchez, for me anyway, was sitting behind a desk, and as soon as you walk in, you've just served X amount of years of a prison sentence, tell us why you're up for parole today. So that was our first sort of not how are you, what's your name, it was like, are you going to be able to think on your feet or not? That was their sort of tester. So you make it through that round, and then maybe you did some more auditioning that day, and then it was over the course of a couple of weekends where that pile of kids narrowed down. These two were cast first. So I knew that at the end, the very final callback that I had, these folks were in a room, and then they'd send me out, and they'd bring this guy Bill in, and he'd do his thing with them, and then they'd send Bill out, and it was just this guy Bill and myself in the hallway, going back and forth auditioning with these two. We did a diner scene, we did some You're Lost in the Woods scenes. I also remember, I don't know if you remember this, the screaming audition, because there were probably maybe 3 or 4 women left, and I just remember women walking in, screaming at the top of their lungs and walking out, and then the next woman walking in, and I swear this happened, because I remember yours and going like, it's going through my being, if this is not Jane. We were cast as Bill, John, and Jane, so. Anyway, apologize. I'm taking a lot of time, but that's the story of.
I have no recollection of that whatsoever. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, do you have any recollection of the project coming together, though, or your first, whatever your first memory is, Blair Witch related memory?
Same was reading the ad. I remember reading the ad because I was doing improv comedy at the time, and so and I was also working one of those kind of off Broadway documentary theater. Movement theater things where everything you move in slow motion a lot and you do some mime. So when this came up, I was like, oh wow, that would be a kind of an interesting combination of all the things that I'm already doing, and then I really did like the danger element of it too. It sounded, I kind of like discomfort. I feel like that's how you become a better person, by kind of walking into discomfort. And so I got myself a hunting knife. My mom wanted their social security numbers, but other than that, we just kind of traipsed off into the woods we got on a Peter Pan bus together, and that's where we really met for the first time. Mm-hmm. And then the rest is unexpected, very surprising cinematic history.
So, how different were, for each of you, again, the expectations of, what it's going to be like on set versus what it was actually like? Because I feel like you guys had to do a level of heavy lifting that I can't think of any other actors having to do.
I was expecting, I literally brought a hunting knife because I was thinking we're going to have to skin squirrels. I learned how to trap and start fire with a drop of water. So I was ready for shit to get real. But instead we have power bars, and it was actually pretty fine.
The other actor, Bill, who almost played Mike's part, we got so hungry on the first day that we ate him. So then they had to call Mike and get him down from the city.
That's actually in the Second Sight extended box set that's out now.
The eating of Bill.
Devouring of Bill.
There's that South Park episode where they get trapped in a radio station in a snowstorm, and after 12 minutes, Cartman's like, "We got to eat Eric Roberts, man."
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there's one fire in the whole movie. Who's out in the woods for 8 days and doesn't light a fire every night? The reason, and we'll take some credit here, is we weren't allowed to. The state park rules were no fires. So we had to validate why not light a fire, which was if we light a fire, it'll
Witch will see it.
light.
She'll
The
smell
witch will see it. And yeah, so, honestly, to me, it was about where I had expected. They were very concerned with our safety, and we had 2 or 3 days before we even shot, safety meetings and learning equipment and things like that. We had walkie-talkies out there. There was escape routes planned into our GPS systems. We had a code word called bulldozer if anything went really wrong, if somebody broke a leg or an arm or something. And we were always being shadowed by them. They were always within, really, not that they were in eyesight, but they were within earshot and eyesight most of the time. Until they weren't. True.
Well, we have a packed house here, so I don't want to hog the mic too bad. I want to give the audience a chance to jump in for audience questions. Okay, first one over here. Bring the mic to you.
Heather, you mentioned that you were doing improv comedy before this. I'm curious what the level of familiarity with improv you guys had going to this was for the other two of you, and if that improv nature of the movie was something you were looking forward to, or if it was scary or what.
One of the reasons I was excited about the audition process was because it said improvisational feature film. I had gone to school for theater, SUNY New Paltz, a state school, not too far from here. And in our theater program, every time we did a scene study class, we would improv the scene. Anytime we worked on a show, we would do a lot of extensive improvisation. Not only did I do a bunch of comedy improv, but I also did improvisation when it came to dramatic scenes. So I felt like, okay, this is my jam. I'm excited about this. It's really, for me, it hit home.
I didn't really have any specific improv experience, but I was working behind the camera a bunch at that point, and I was a half decent bullshitter, and improv is mostly like bullshitting plus a little bit of writing math, so yeah.
And audience questions? Here we go.
Yes, I just had a quick question. What was the location as to where the filming took place, that particular park?
It's called Seneca Creek State Park.
And also, a second part is, what are usually the permit requirements to film? Like, how do you go about that? What's the process usually?
We're the wrong people to ask about that.
Okay.
We didn't pull I don't know if they pulled permits. I think they pulled permits.
I think they did.
But yeah, that's more.
I think they did because
Greg
remember that's why we were able to. They gave us permission to have a fire in a trash can lid one night, which is how we got that memorable scene where Mike corrects us that I called him the captain from Gilligan's Island, and Mike was very stern, actually, in his correction that is the skipper. You TV ignorant people, I believe, is the direct quote.
The umbrage, the deep umbrage he took.
Deep sitcom umbrage.
How are you Gen X and you can't get Gilligan's Island right? It makes no sense.
Touche, Mike.
I was more into Mork and Mindy. I was that girl. You know what can I tell you? Nanu nanu.
Nanu all the way. There you go.
Exactly, right?
Thank you guys.
Saw a hand up front, right?
Curious on what you guys thought of the most, especially you, considering your character has a lot more drives the story of the recent Blair Witch film that came out in like 2016. It was literally just called Blair Witch. What are your thoughts, initial thoughts on it, if you saw it or not? You guys weren't in it, so it wasn't that great.
I liked it. I didn't love the second one. I thought they rushed the idea out. I thought they, were trying to strike lightning in a bottle twice. Mm-hmm. But the 2016 one, while not perfect, I felt like it was more geared towards a generation. Adrenaline, I definitely felt the adrenaline, like that whole tunneling scene. I thought that was cool. I thought the house stuff was cool. I thought the actors were good. I'm always rooting, like even there's this guy, not Wes Anderson. Maybe it is Wes Anderson. Anyway, one of the actors, there's just a couple that I'm always rooting for, like actors that we don't know yet, because that's who we were. So anytime that a studio is willing to give unknowns a shot, which the studio should do more of, please, I'm a fan of those. And I thought, honestly, I thought it got treated a little unfairly by a fan base that's extremely very passionate, and we appreciate your passion, and I always have appreciated the passion. But also, when you're passionate about something and you want it to continue, you probably should have a little bit less of a critical lens. And I'm not asking people to say like, oh, it's my favorite movie, but it was a good movie. Like, I thought it was a good movie. I think it was amazing. Does it blow me away? No, but I thought it was a good movie.
I like the lore that they added to it that you guys established in the first film. I thought, yeah.
And that's another thing we can't take credit for is the lore. That's like the the guys who wrote the story and stuff. But yeah, I appreciate that stuff too. That's what makes the story in both directions of time pretty cool to be able to tell. So always wanted to see the real backstory. I'd love to see that old time, like before Rust and Parr, like 1800s would be kind of cool.
Thank you.
Actually, if I could piggyback on that, if there was like a prequel, as you say, would you guys be willing to come back and play their ancestors or different roles or anything? Would you be open to return to the franchise?
I think if we had a better relationship with the company that distributed the film, which we're working on, yes, I would be.
Josh?
There's a lot of bullseyes that would have to line up.
Exactly.
I could imagine. Right here.
I'm back. One of the things that I found most interesting from watching the special features on that new set was Eduardo talking about the impact that Blair Witch had on Sundance, not only just from a reception standpoint, but also that they changed it so that people did not need to strike the movie onto film because of the cost that went into it. And Eduardo basically was saying that if we had been able to use the 16 millimeter and digital elements and submit that just in one package, that we would have been able to have a lot more going into the other side of it. And I thought it was really interesting that they changed it because of the Blair Witch, that is no longer a requirement that it has to be struck to film, to 35 millimeter. So I'm just curious what you guys think about the Blair Witch not only being just like a cool, innovative movie, but also the impact that it's had on breaking down these kind of boundaries and, you know, sort of reestablishing what a film can look like and be composed of.
Respectfully, I don't know. It's the first time I'm hearing that. I don't know. That's not my side of the lens. It's interesting. I think it's pretty cool that it broke down that barrier, but that's definitely something that a filmmaker should know. And I'm glad that it sounds like what you're saying is it made it more accessible for filmmakers to submit and get accepted. So that is great, but that's new information, at least for me.
Yeah, and it was also just a confluence of technology that was becoming available at that time. In '99, I don't think there was any proper straight from DIT projection that you could do in most theatrical houses, and that technology developed. I think Blair Witch exists as this really kind of fascinating piece of history. I'm so proud of the story we told. I think it's so cool that we're still here talking about it, but it is also this kind of artifact in the sense that something was going to come in and sweep up that sea change that was happening in reality TV was already happening. Found footage wasn't a genre, but the notion that with affordable prosumer cameras, it wasn't going to become an option for filmmakers was pretty, somebody was going to do it. And so I think, I think digital technology I remember in 1998, 97, before I got hired for Blair Witch, because I was doing a lot of videography in Manhattan, I had one of the first 3-chip digital cameras. It was the Sony VX1000. And the FireWire, the whole thing was there was a FireWire port on the camera. So you were going to be able to suck in your data directly to your computer, but the cable did not exist. So for 9 months after I had the camera, you couldn't get the cable. So, and then once that picked up and that started happening, it just moved at an exponential pace.
I'm getting acid flashbacks as you said FireWire. That's crazy. Did you get to weigh in on that, Heather? No? Oh, okay. Well, give the audience another chance to jump in the back.
Just to add on to how this movie popularized the found footage genre, in your opinion, what does the Blair Witch Project have that other things have tried to capture and just don't have?
The lack of cynicism of trying to recapture something that somebody had already done, the innocence of stumbling into it for the first time.
Sincerity is what I would say.
And Michael Williams.
Okay, I got
Michael C. Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
Have an audience request for a question from a shy audience member. If you were vending machines, what would you dispense?
Bugles. Only bugles.
Bugles.
Farts.
Lotion.
If you put those three together,
It's one hell of a night.
Well, what else do you need?
bugle fart lotion.
I really appreciate the question and the shyness from whoever that was.
Well, hopefully the rest of the audience isn't too shy. Do we have any more audience? Okay, I'll work my way. I'll work my way around in a circle.
Andrew, can you please stand up?
Andrew,
Literally the best.
do you have the diorama?
Who do you think I am?
I mean, incredible.
It is heavy, so.
But it is amazing. Look
Yeah.
at that. It's Mike standing in the corner in the back of the backpack.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Hi. I wasn't expecting that at 12.
Well, if you're going to come in that hot and fabulous, you have to expect a little
You just
attention.
ratcheted up
Amen
the
to
12
that.
o'clock
Amen to
energy.
that. Thank you. Now I'm frazzled. I was going to ask, so as someone who was not alive when the movie came out, so I didn't get to see the whole, Yeah,
You're
look,
young.
I'm sorry.
You're young. You're
Look, I'm
young.
sorry.
You're beautiful. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
We're wise. We know things.
But I
The
just
90s.
wanted,
Living that crone life.
I wanted to ask the ending. I just wanted to hear, after so many years now, your more thoughts on the ending and how it felt for you when looking back at that ending and just seeing how impactful it had been.
Josh is obviously a serial killer.
Oh!
Spoiler alert.
Josh is selling that towel.
That towel, we're going to autograph it. It's going to be on eBay by 5.
I'll go to the ending because I am standing in the corner, and I'll just tell you the long and short of it. This is another long story. Sorry. So we had access to the directors. They put us in a car on the last day and drove us and said, "Don't talk," and drove us to another state park. So we were in Seneca
Patapsco.
Creek. Right.
I think it is. Is that right?
Patapsco.
Yeah, I think that's
well
right.
done. So we go to Patapsco. And I'm like, well, I know it's the last day of shooting. Also, we never actually were lost. There were streets and roads and airplanes and all that stuff. So any of the were you actually scared stuff, the answer is no. We're actors, so thank you. But the thing about the end was, now we're in this new stretch of woods, and my note says, tonight you'll hear a noise. When you hear that noise, follow it all the way up until Heather reaches you, and then leave her behind and go all the way down. So I'm thinking it's a hill. What else in the woods can you go up and down, right? And so now it's getting close to dark. She's got an assignment to do her goodbye, which is brilliant and genius and Academy Award worthy acting. I had an opportunity to say my goodbyes, which was cut, so that tells you all you need to know about my performance. And I'm getting nervous because I don't want to screw up the end of this film because we really have put blood, sweat, and tears in it, literally, right? We felt really good about what we were doing out there. It was special and it felt magical. And did we ever think we'd be talking about it 25 years later? No. But we felt like we were doing solid work out there. And I didn't want to be the one to screw it up. So I get on the radio and I walkie Ed and I say, "Ed, I don't understand what this note is." He goes, "Trust me, you'll understand it." I go, "You got to tell me what it is because I don't want to screw this up. We go home tomorrow." "Mike, turn the radio off. Trust me, you'll know when you see it." Great. Put the walkie down, we go to sleep. Next thing I know, you literally hear, anybody remember the cassette boom boxes? And you just hear click. And that's what you heard when the babies were crying and everything. Like the fact that you don't hear it in the movie is amazing. And it's Josh's boombox voice going, "Help, help." And I'm like, oh, that's the noise. So I get out of the tent, I follow the noise, I get into this little clearing and I look up. And that's the most genuine line I say in the movie is, "Oh shit, it's a house." Because that's my realization that I have to go upstairs in this house until she gets to me, which I do, and I leave her behind. I run downstairs, so I know the basement is all the way down. I get all the way downstairs, and Greg Hale gives me a bear hug and brings me slowly to the ground. And I remember having this like emotional release of, oh, thank God it's over. And I actually like teared up and I was like, oh, we did it. He's like, "It's not over yet. Go stand in the corner. Go stand in the corner." I'm like, what? All right, I'll go stand in the corner. What the hell? And by the way, she's screaming so authentically on her way down the stairs. and she sees me in the corner and she gets hit and the film is over. What happened actually is I had the high 8 at the time. She had the Super 16. 2 things happened that night. Number one, when he decked me, my hand hits the button on the high 8, right? So that's our audio source. So now I've killed our audio source. So the rest of her screams are gone, and the light on her 16 goes out. So we do it, and we film it, and we go to Denny's.
Go to Denny's on Halloween.
On Halloween, our first, encounter with individuals who were all dressed up. So that was crazy. Though moons over my hammy were tasty.
And then the next year, people were dressed up as us in that Denny's.
Isn't that crazy?
Weird, I know, right?
But we had to go reshoot the ending the very next night because of those technical glitches. So the fact that Heather was able to recreate those mic screams is incredible again. That's another little known thing, is that we actually reshot that ending twice. Then the film gets sold at to Artisan at Sundance, and Artisan says, we don't love the ending, we actually don't like it, go reshoot the ending. So I went down to Maryland with the film crew, and we reshot, and some of you probably know this, but they make a stickman crucifix, and I'm on the crucifix.
I really want to see that
It's
one.
ridiculous. Then they levitate me. There's just 3 different alternate endings, and the story goes, and this is them more than me, but that Artisan said to them, well, which one do you guys want to use now? We want to use one of the new ones. And they said, we don't. We want to use the original one. And the Artisan told them, you're going to lose money. Fine, we'll do it. And I'm so grateful that they kept the original ending in. And actually, it does look like I'm levitating a little bit in that original ending. But yeah, that's the story of the end of the film. And the impact of standing in the corner, I had no idea that would be, one of those staple. There's so many awesome memes out right now, It's like I can't go out tonight, I'm busy, and it's just me standing in the corner. It's really funny.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
A little follow-up. You were the original Baby Girl. Have you seen Baby Girl?
Oh, yeah, I
Nicole
did. I
Kidman.
reposted something about her because Nicole Kidman, I didn't
stands
see
in
it,
the
but she
corner.
stands in the
Sorry.
corner. Like, you stole my spot. Yeah. There's this thing where she's standing in the corner. I don't know why. I have
I
to
have a
see
feeling
it.
it might be a slightly different context. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I have heard about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to speak up. I'm Heather's dad. Heather doesn't even know this particular story. Yeah, I know, so I'm going to embarrass her. July 12th of 99 was the premiere of the movie in New York. I'm sure you guys all remember. July 11th, the day before, was my 50th birthday. So Joan and I, we live we call them a row house. The Yuppies call them the townhouse, but we're in a row house. It's just around 11:30 at night, we're watching Siskel and Ebert, and they're doing a review of the Blair Witch Project. Now, it's my 50th birthday. I'm excited. And I said to Joan, oh, God, what's going to happen? They give it 2 thumbs up while we start screaming and cheering and running around the bedroom. The next day I come down, my next door neighbor's out there saying, yo, Jim, good job, and I'm saying, no, it wasn't what you think it was. Well, I didn't want to totally discount that either. But that was my Blair Witch story there, that we were praying for at least 1 thumbs up. They gave it 2. And then from there, that was it. So, yeah.
I love that. Can I piggyback on the Siskel and Ebert story? So I'm home, Siskel and Ebert comes on. I don't really remember watching it, but I think we met them. I don't remember where we met them, but I definitely met Roger Ebert. And he gives us the thumbs up. And like that summer, at some point, he died, rest his soul. And my father-in-law, who also passed away, turns to me and he goes, Mikey, you're the kiss of death. Stay away from me. It's true. Yeah, like, thanks.
Oh my God.
Pops.
Wow. That was his takeaway?
Yeah, you're the kiss of death. Didn't you just meet that guy? It's pretty funny.
I had some more hands coming.
God, I love generational trauma.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene to shoot in a movie, and what scene did you not want to shoot again? Like if they said, oh, can you do this again? And you're like, no. One and done.
For me, I had to go back to find the bundle of twigs that had Josh's teeth and hair and stuff in it, because we simply didn't see it when we left the camp that morning. And then Ben Rock, who was the art director, stopped me. He's like, look, we have a visual gag there and you have to go back and react to it. And I was like, no. I was like, really? I was like, okay. Okay, all right, let's do it. And then we go back, and then I was like, I don't know how we missed it, but then it was sitting there, and I guess he put it in a more obvious place. And then I was like, all right, I guess we're gonna let's do a little Lady Macbeth thing here, get the blood on the hands, the hair, a little out damn spot fun, and then we rolled back to eating power bars and sitting around crunching leaves. It was great. We had a good time. So the end stuff, I think like Mike said, we went back and did a second take after we had full bellies and all that stuff. Like, there was a lot of, I know much is made of how, we only gave you power bars and all this stuff. And I would suggest, as I would have suggested then and can definitely attest to now, that was absolutely unnecessary. It was not necessary to use our full names. It was not necessary to do all that. We were all trained actors. And I think a lot of the scenes that people remember the most are the scenes we actually did multiple takes of. So, it's, which I think is kind of funny. It's like
they're running out of the tent.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Like all that. We did like multiple takes of that. We did multiple takes at the very end. So, I think that, for what it's worth, I would probably, I personally really wouldn't do any of it again, but I'm very glad it exists in the world and that you all enjoy it so much as you do.
At this age, I do like the Blair Park Project, where you're just kind of lost in a park, and then you're like, oh, I'm in a park, and you're done. Yeah,
I've heard a lot of people have been talking about the Blair Thumb Project. A lot of the parodies I never got to see, but that one sounds very intriguing. I would really like to see that. Apparently it's not a porn either, because that was my first thought, but...
There is one. There is one.
I
wouldn't know what it's called, but it's out there.
We had more questions. Yeah, come around.
A lot of the marketing around it focused on, you were missing presumed dead. Was there any kind of pressure or any thought to not coming out and being like, oh yeah, don't worry, we're alive? Or was it just like, no, we all get it, you're actors, that kind of thing?
There was absolute pressure not to come out and say that you're alive. It was like, you guys hide and you're dead. We're going to list you on IMDb as dead, and it's going to help the movie. You're a young actor. You're like, cool, we're going to help the movie grow legs. I don't know, looking back, that it was necessary. It was a few weeks of that. We couldn't go to, there was a private premiere. There was a huge Angelica premiere, which we watched from across the street, watching people celebrate this thing and camp out in tents. And so it was that part was the first bittersweet taste. It felt like I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Sympathy cards and phone calls to houses, because there was no technology. There was no cell phones, no texting. Hey, is your brother all right? I know I got messages. My older brother got messages. I know your family got condolences. So it was bizarre, right? And then coming out of that was, honestly, it just got a little, number one, start with gratitude. I always start with gratitude because I am grateful for it. But number two things could be true is it was hard, man, because now when we weren't dead, we had our real names on it. So people thought they just dropped us in the wood and scared that they terrified us, and they actually did all this stuff to us. And so you'd sit across from casting directors and they'd be like, you weren't really acting. And you had this beginning of reality TV. So the Real World and Cops and things like that, which we started to, that's what through that lens, you're seeing these are reality TV stars. So for me anyway, it started to be you're almost defending yourself auditioning as opposed to when I auditioned for Blair Witch and I was sort of manifesting I'm getting this. I'm talented. I know I can do this. I know this is what I've studied to do. I feel really good. I wouldn't say I was cocky, but I felt really good about my prospects. And after this, because of the way it was, all unfolded, I started to get uncertain, which is the kiss of death, back to Mr. Ebert, right? for a young actor to feel like I have to defend myself while auditioning. And that was, I mean, I'm not lying. Like literally, I remember the head of CBS casting, I think it was in LA, was like arguing with me over whether or not I was acting because, well, you're Michael Williams, you know, so I wasn't Bill, you know, so that's a long answer to your answer, but there's a whole like series of events, and it starts with you're not actors, you're dead, and you're presumed dead, and you're listed as dead, and people believe you're dead. Then, oh my God, you're alive? Like, I'm kind of pissed off about that. People told me that yesterday. Like, I was kind of disappointed to find out. And then they like backtrack and like, you know, of course I'm happy you're alive, but like, I get that though, as an audience perspective, you feel duped. So there was people sometimes walking up to me on the street like, F you, I hate your effing movie, you know.
Yeah, that was a lot more vehement in like 99 and 2000,
Yeah.
like strangers coming up to you resenting the fact that you're alive and like asking for their money back. And I'm like, oh honey, I didn't get any of the money. So it's like, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
How long did they make you pretend to be dead?
It wasn't long, it was a few weeks, but it was long enough. It was like, you know what happens is you have this arc, and at the very top of the arc, that's where we were dead. Once the arc starts to come down, it's like, hey, you know, we did a circuit, TV, and so I'd say it wasn't long, but it was an important length
Well, but we
time.
missed the whole build up to the premiere, which is usually when actors are really out there promoting the movie. So we weren't really allowed to be alive until the box office numbers started to drop, and then they were like, surprise! But by then it was kind of a little late to recover from that, especially as new actors, you know?
Yeah.
And especially because I think a lot of studios were pretty upset with the movie by that point, because they had multi-million-dollar, I think, Haunting of Hill House and a few other movies that came out that summer that we just creamed them. So it was like, there wasn't a lot of love in the big studio arena for Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, just piggyback on that quickly, since you mentioned the summer of '99, it is one of my favorite summers of movie in the history of movies. Like, it was after my freshman year in high school. I feel like I was at the movie theater every week. So were there movies that, you know, you said there's a couple that you crushed. Were there any that you particularly remember, like, oh man, I liked seeing that one that summer? Or you were kind of afraid, like, are we going to be able to compete with Austin Powers or Star Wars? Or, you know, was that any of that on your minds?
I didn't give any thought to how Blair Witch fit in the marketplace at all. Like, I mean, I never thought of Blair Witch as competing with Hill House or Star Wars or Austin. I mean, that was not at all the movie that I thought we were making. I thought we were lucky we got into Sundance. So it was, I didn't foresee us in that landscape at all. So you know what I mean? Like, those kind of thoughts didn't really cross my mind. Even when it became clear that we would be having a summer release, it still didn't really register, because we weren't really part of any of that. You know what I mean? We weren't part of the planning or any of that stuff.
We had no idea. At least for me, I had no idea, just because I had no experience releasing movies in the marketplace. I didn't understand what an anomaly it was. Of course, there were many times along the way where you're like, Newsweek magazine cover shoot? What the fuck? This is so weird. But in terms of the actual context of like the business of movies, as Heather said, there was no part of us that was like, we're going to go out and beat Fincher next weekend. Like, it just, and I don't know about you guys, but I had like agents and lawyers in my life who were like, you guys got 27, you got a blah, blah market share. And I was like, cool. Like, I didn't understand the significance at all. But no, we never felt like we were in competition with anything. We were always the weird little, bastard stepchild who kind of came in from the side and it's like, hey guys, what's up?
Well, sometimes the bastard stepchild grows up to be the golden child of the summer of '99.
We do once in a while. Michael Williams.
Michael C. Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
There's some hands here.
So while you guys were out there filming, is there anything that you remember filming that you thought was like, this is going to be really good? Like, I really like this scene that we just did that just did not make the film at all?
Literally everything that I thought that of, they cut. And I'm cool with it.
Yeah, no, they
After
did a
she
good
found
job.
the bundle, I had this whole thing. I have a meltdown. I'm punching trees. I'm crying. I'm like, this is the greatest work ever. But it was probably self-indulgent. And, like you're a young actor. You're going to try everything. Like we had, 20 plus hours of footage. So I always give them a lot of credit. Like to weed through that and to narrate this story, like that is a job and a half out of all that footage, especially since nobody's ever done that before. So I'm sure there was a lot of garbage in there. I feel really good about what's there, and I feel good about the stuff that's cut too. But there's definitely a couple things that I still haven't seen that I'd like to see.
I mean, that's what made it so much fun, though, is because we had all the power to be like, hey, let's do a scene, you guys. Let's. Mike kicking the map into the creek, I don't think that was in any of the notes. Mike just kind of came up with that, and that became such a centerpiece, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, we're like, hey, let's do that again. And we would do a second take. It was we had so much autonomy and so much creativity available to us to do whatever we wanted out there. And you would never get that experience again. And I'm so I'm so grateful for how making this film was and how it is really a testament to that scrappy spark and what the sincere scrappy spark can actually make happen, and then how that beautiful tender meat can go into a sausage grinder and kind of come out the other end in unexpected ways.
Yeah. I'm just so grateful that they didn't put our mid-90s white boy slam poetry in the actual cut of the movie.
Wait, was that in the motel room? Did you guys did slam poetry in the motel room,
and
right?
it didn't make it into the cut of the movie. Thank fucking
Oh, why isn't that on YouTube?
It probably is.
Just
Shut your mouth.
We all need to Google that later as soon as this is over.
Yeah, the amount of times that I think everybody our age is like, oh my God, thank God we didn't grow up with social media.
Oh my God,
it would have been so embarrassing. But there are these moments captured on film somewhere that are the equivalent of the same severe embarrassment. Yeah.
I was just wondering, because you guys talked a lot about, obviously the discomfort of being out in nature and everything, the effort. Was there anything that you guys did out there that you were like, wow, that felt really cool, rugged, that was awesome that I did that?
Crossing the logs? Crossing the logs with all our equipment and backpacks on. That felt like an achievement at the time.
It was 50 pounds of equipment with the DAT.
Yeah.
That was an old DAT. The camera, everything was heavy.
Yeah.
We definitely, I don't think it was not Everest. There's no Everest moments, but yeah. But just to kind of sustain that through that many days, it's a long camping trip, and there was a lot of hiking. There was definitely a lot of hiking.
It was very damp.
It was so wet.
It was really wet.
Yeah.
We have time for one more.
I was just wondering how, I know, Josh, you said you had experienced shooting stuff before, but how being performer and cinematographer simultaneously impacted your performance in any way, shape, or form?
It's interesting because when you're playing a role where your character has some kind of utilitarian function, it's almost weird not to do that. If my camera wasn't working and I was additionally acting that I was filming things, but I wasn't actually filming things, it would have been weirdly harder. Because that's at the end of the day with acting is just the less you're thinking about how much you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing in the given circumstances of the scene, and the more you're just doing that, the easier your job is and the less full of shit you are usually. So I think for all of us, having this directive of like, no, we're filming each other making this movie. And there's artifice there, and we're making the given circumstance of the Blair Witch is not the given circumstance of us as actors, but it is that kind of extra layer of verisimilitude where like you have something to do with your hands, and like you know what you're talking about because we're making this project. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I mean, for me, my whole character was based on if I don't keep the camera running, there's no movie. Yeah. So she has to be obsessive. She has to be relentless. Do you know what I mean? Because there's no, like, I can't afford to be like, oh, no, you know what? No, I think she gives up. That's it. You know, like.
And for me, Josh just said verisimilitude, so I'm good. Vera? Similitude. That's what we had, a lot of verisimilitude out there. And it was very copacetic. Very quixotic.
Well, unfortunately, that is about time for us, guys. But the good news is, be sure to stop by their table, get some pictures, get some autographs, because I know they have a lot more stories to tell you, and make some noise for these
Super grateful for you guys.
Thank you. Really. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is Aaron Douglas, Chief from Battlestar Galactica. You are watching Fandom Spotlight. Have fun and follow your fracking fandom.